Whew. Oh, hello there, friends. You caught us at the end of our art hour. I just finished up my drawing. Want to see? Mia and I decided that we would both draw a moon. So I really took care to follow the structure of what a moon looks like. Oh, you're done too, Mia? Awesome, let's see yours. Wow, that looks great. What I love most is that you didn't stick to the traditional form of the moon. You used the tools and devices that you're already familiar with to freely create your own version of the moon. Sometimes breaking free from a set structure or form allows artists to express themselves, innovate, and create wholly unique works of art. That's actually just like a type of poetry called free verse poetry. Today, we're going to learn all about how free verse poetry uses its freedom of structure to let poets create expressive works of art. Let's get into it. Before we get started, as always, make sure that you're following along with the guided notes in your PDF. So, we've already talked about how poetry is like art, and free verse poetry is the type of poetry that lets poets write with the most freedom. Free verse poetry is a form of poetry that does not follow a set structure, rhyme scheme, pattern, or form. Instead, free verse poetry innovates using many of the devices that we've already learned. Some elements used in free verse poetry are the strategic use of line breaks, imagery and figurative language used to create connections with the reader, and repetition to create a unique flow and structure. Because of the freedom from structure, free verse poetry uses more natural rhythms of speech than other traditional forms of poetry. An example of this is in the poem titled "The Shortest and Sweetest of Songs" by George MacDonald. The poem is simply, "Come home." What can you observe in this poem? Pause the video and write down your answer in your guided notes. After reading this poem, you might notice that it doesn't have a structure or pattern like anything we've seen so far. The beauty of the poem is its natural speech and its quick, simple structure. The title is longer than the poem itself, yet this short length is natural in speech. It's a short sentence that has probably been said by people in your life, including yourself. The line spacing is also used really effectively here, as come and home each bring significance by occupying their own line. Because of the lack of structure in free verse poetry, this poem manages to be incredibly meaningful in just a small amount of words. Let's take a look at this next poem called "Ultimately" by Ernest Hemingway. He tried to spit out the truth, dry-mouthed at first. He drooled and slobbered in the end, truth dribbling his chin. What are some elements of free verse poetry that you see here? Pause the video now and write your answers in your PDF. This poem uses figurative language when Hemingway describes the truth dribbling his chin. This metaphor portrays the idea that there were many truths that were coming out of the speaker's mouth. It also follows a natural speech pattern. The words are written similarly to regular speech with line breaks, emphasizing the content of each line. If you're writing free verse poetry, here are some tips to help you with your writing process. Number 1, use poetic and sound devices. We've already learned all about imagery, figurative language, repetition, and other tools that poets use in their work. So don't forget to use them in your writing to create some beautiful poetry. Number 2, experiment with your writing. The lack of structure in free verse poetry provides you with a great space to try new things. Don't be afraid to experiment with different line breaks or word choices so that you can explore your writing abilities. And finally, express yourself. This is the magic of poetry, especially free verse poetry. It's a place where you get to express emotions, themes, and ideas through words. So there's no better place to express yourself to the fullest. I hope this lesson reminded you that great art doesn't just come from following a strict structure or form. It also comes from when people break from those rules. There's something amazing that happens when an artist or a poet is able to freely express themselves. All right, that's it for me today. Thank you so much for joining. But before we go, parting ways feels bittersweet. Moments cherished. Until next time, my friends.
Hey!